Gideon.
And then you said, hold on, as I pressed the button. What's wrong?
Burst.
Oh, the burp could absolutely feature.
Oh, it's gone now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Doctor Who Review.
Give me
where
some time to prepare.
Two people watch Doctor Who from the very bloody beginning and then sort of talk about it in a kind of video podcast in a way.
Hello.
Hello, puppets.
Hello, puppet.
Hello, puppets. I'm Chris.
I'm not good.
And we start a whole new era. The 50th anniversary year begins proper this time. With, you're right, Min. She's been chewing her first. She's got these weird little patches on her. So if at any point she sits in the frame, you're like, she looks bald. She is. We start the 50th anniversary year proper this time. With Mattathias Smythe, star of Morbius. and Jenna, then Louise Coleman. Beginning
I think you
her...
might have explained it to me, but why did she change it?
Dunno. It's like after this series, I think she changes her screen name to Jenna Coleman, as opposed to Jenna Louise Coleman. And it's her prerogative as to why, good sir.
Fair enough.
But yeah, and she begins her regular run here as Clara. And yeah, we're going to talk about the first 4 episodes of Series 7, Part 2. Hot Shots Part 2, starring Charlie Sheen.
What? What's that?
Parody movies. There's 2 parody movies in the early 90s called Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2.
God.
Which parody Top Gun and then pretty much just Rambo.
Is that real?
They're real things. They are real movies.
What?
They're real movies. And they're actually pretty funny. Ryan Stiles is in both of them as completely different characters.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
You call yourself a Who's Line fan. Anyway,
I just know them from Who's Line and the Disney California. The Disney California videos.
What?
Isn't that Colin and Ryan?
Colin and Brad Sherwood are in those.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what? Do you not know the cast from any other things?
No, genuinely.
Wayne Brady's King Dice in Cuphead.
Is the chocolate...
He's the horrible chocolate squirrel in Food Fight. Oh no, poor Wayne Brady.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh god, the Drew Carey Show. Ryan Stiles is from that. He's on it with Craig Ferguson. Or as the Americans call him, Craig, because they don't know how to say the word Craig.
Like Graham, they call him Graham.
Graham. Hey, Graham. Graham.
Graham crackers.
Graham crackers. Anyway, point is, we're getting off topic. This has been an interesting
Calling
series.
them Graham crackers, though, is pretty weird.
This has been a weird series to approach because first half of the series, I think we both had vague memories of Series 7 Part 1, didn't we? We got the...
Yeah,
We kind of knew enough. I think bits of dinosaurs and a spaceship surprised us that we'd sort of forgotten, and you'd never seen the Power of 3, or you had, but you'd forgotten about it. Invasion of the Really Small Cubes.
Oh no, I had seen it.
Yeah.
I'd just forgotten it.
And then the Snowmen was a... No, it's great until the last 5 minutes when it shits the bed. Wow.
God, something moved behind you. It really freaked me out then. I thought the cats were out.
They can't see this.
Sorry, my heart actually stopped then.
This is the perils of recording on the couch this time. But, yeah, Series 7 Part B, we're into the 50th anniversary year proper and the final 7? I want to say 7 episode stretch?
You can't have any.
Starting with the Bells of St. John. Not Chris, what happens in the Bells of St. John? What's the basic plot?
Something's going on with the Wi-Fi. If you connect to it, it steals you, really, doesn't it? And the Doctor is confused because Clara's trying to fix the internet, and she's a bit useless.
Do me a huge favour.
Yeah.
Never get a job right in the summaries on the back of books.
No, for my whole life, I have been shocking at describing things. I've been shocking at directions, names, and describing things.
Basic words.
No, I genuinely have my whole life. No.
Oh my god, this video is going to be so long.
So Clara's given a
We've got
number.
4 stories to talk about.
4?
Yeah.
She's given a number by somebody in the newsagents or something. A lady in the...
Not important right now.
And no, the number...
A lady in the shop said that this number is for someone who'll fix everything.
Yeah, and she rings it, and it's the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And the TARDIS phone doesn't ring on the isn't it the outside one? It said, and the Doctor
Boo.
is trying to figure out who Clara is.
Boo. None of this is wrong. if they're watching this, they've seen the story. We're just giving like a 2-sentence recap, so they go, "Oh, that episode."
No.
Oh my god.
So the Doctor's staying in a monastery in
Jesus
God
Christ.
knows what year, I've forgotten.
You've got the Wikipedia article in front of you. You
yeah.
can check at any time.
Alright, stop laughing at me. How am I supposed to improve if you don't let me do it?
How many years of Doctor Who have we watched? How many videos have we made?
1207 is where it
There
is.
you go.
In
And the
Cumbria.
bells of St. John start ringing, don't they?
No, I'm getting to it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, God, I'm annoying, aren't I? So the Doctor's trying to figure out who Clara is in this monastery.
Oh
And then people are like, the bells are ringing. The bells of St. John are ringing. And then they're like,
Title drop, take a shot.
does he know? So they go to tell this monk that's at the bottom of the monastery.
And it's Peter Butterworth.
And it
Wait,
is
no, wrong Doctor Who monk.
Slenderman. No, it's the Doctor because he's trying to figure out who Clara is. And the bells of St. John, even though you just spoilt it, are the TARDIS. St. John's ambulance.
Literally those ones there.
The Doctor gets very excited.
Yes,
And
he
then
does.
he's,
Oh, the
confused.
console room's wrong. I'll turn it around.
Shocking. Oh,
Fantastic.
No. Cheeky leg up there.
Wait.
Wait, lads. Yeah, so alright, you describe it then. Why'd you ask me then if you know that I can't do it? It's one of my disabilities.
Crippling anxiety, terrible with directions, can't write a book summary. Just picture the back of the target novel of the Bells of St. John that you've just described. Picture the back of the book
Is it
right
so
now.
book?
It's trailing off the back of the book onto the
It
desk.
falls out.
It falls out.
Hey, stop
The
mocking
Doctor
me.
finally gets a coincidental lead in the mystery of the girl who keeps dying. Meanwhile, on Earth, a mysterious Wi-Fi network seems to be stealing the souls of all those who use it. There we go. That's how you do it. There's nothing to it. Literally just like 2 sentences.
You're a cheap shit.
So this is
have a
actual.
Pringle.
This is actual.
In rebellion.
You're going to rebel with a Pringle. Can you at least crunch it near the camera so the audience can hear it? Oh, good lord! It fell all over your chest.
Merry Christmas.
It's not Christmas. Well, it might be for them. I can't remember this is coming out. Oh
Merry
Jesus!
Dip as well, folks. Nice.
This is Clara. Like we are finally with Clara. Clara, as the Doctor Who poop video makes me think every time. Clara.
Oh, yeah.
And let's very briefly get into our kind of history with this character. So, those who've watched this show from the beginning know that a big chunk of the stuff we watched in the classic era, not Chris, had never seen. I'd seen most of, but not all. So there was a lot of discovery.
I've probably seen like 5% of it. Not even that.
And the modern series, once we got to it, I've seen all of it. You've seen most of it.
Most of it, yeah.
Your gaps start to come from sort of now, really,
Yeah.
don't they?
Evidently, yeah.
Yeah, and part of that is because we weren't really... Like, even when Series 7 was going out at the time, I wasn't really necessarily watching it on broadcast. I'd catch up on iPlayer a few days later. Because I just wasn't as excited. And certain stories kind of did that to me. One of them is in this video that we're going to talk about. And I am delighted to say I feel differently about it now. Another one is in the next video we're going to do. And I don't know if that one's going to improve in my mind as much. But we'll find out, I guess. But a lot of it for both of us is to do with not necessarily the performance of, but the writing and eventual relationship with Clara Oswald. I think I'm falsely remembering disliking her in this series because of how much I dislike the character after this series. Clara, when written by Stephen Moffat, does not gel with me very well. I don't like Clara when written by Moffat because by now we've kind of figured out all of his traits and tropes, and they're all present in that character. Like she's Amy and River Song again.
Yeah.
But she's also unlike Amy, where you get a sense, at least at first, of what her life is, what her relationships are, what her beliefs are. Clara's sort of a bit blank. Blank, but with all these innuendos and little perverse jokes and just, she doesn't quite work. She's very painfully a Moffat character.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her a lot in these 4 episodes because Moffat, again, we've always said this, writes an amazing pilot. And The Bells of St. John is basically another episode 1 for a series. It's the middle of the series, but it's episode 1 for the series because it's the first of this run. And she works great in that one. She works brilliantly in Rings of Akhaten. A bit samey to some other episodes, but she works great in Cold War. And she's bloody brill in Hyde. And it's like, this is great. Why don't I like her? And then I kind of, we'll get to it when we get to it. There is a moment in Series 8 that I think is where I soured on the character completely.
I can't recall that.
It's at the end of Series 8. Well, there's a moment, there's this whole story with her in the first story of Series 8 where I was a bit like, wait, what? But a lot of that, again, is down to Moffat. Those are all Moffat episodes and choices he makes with the character. Other writers writing her, very likely Mark Gatiss and Neil Cross with these stories were not writing for Clara. These are stories that they just had in their head and they're commissioned on this series and this block, so they then cater it to be Clara. There's only a couple of scenes in these 4 episodes that are clearly ones that Moffat has either written or asked to be put in that tie into the arc of the series about Clara, the mystery behind her, and why the Doctor's met her several times. All the other scenes, it could be any companion. It feels like Cold War feels like Mark Gatiss probably had this idea at some point as a Virgin New Adventures novel with like the 7th Doctor and Ace. Or, the 10th Doctor and Rose could have very easily fit into that story. Like it's same with Neil Cross with Hyde in particular. Hyde feels like it's accidentally slipped out of the Tom Baker, like Philip Hinchcliffe era.
Yeah.
It feels like a Doctor and Leela or a Doctor and Sarah Jane story that's just kind of appeared.
Yeah.
And it works really well because of that. There's 2 types of Doctor Who episodes. The ones that absolutely could not have been done at any other time, that work beautifully in the time that they happen and with the cast that they have. And there are those that are like evergreen. Stories where it could fit any era of the show, and that's why they work so well, because they make you feel like it's part of the same comfy experience you've had all those years watching it. And then there's the extra subcategory of evergreen where they basically remind you of the past of it and tell something new with it, like School Reunion or whatever, and it feels really nice. Bells of St. John is again, it's a really good Partners in Crime. It's a really good Smith and Jones. It's a really good Rose. Like, it feels like here is a companion introduction story.
Yeah.
Here's how, there's a bit of backstory to it, because he knows her sort of, but he doesn't tell her that. This is something she's going to discover. It works fine for me. I like the idea that he's found a quiet place to sit down and have a think. After all the little prequels and supplemental material, which we'll get to eventually, hint at him like going looking for her, and at one point very briefly talking to childhood her without even realising it.
Yeah.
The fact that
was so unrealistic to me.
Well, yeah, it was that chance thing, isn't it? Out of like everything in the, when a character can go anywhere in time and space, for him to just maybe, but then again,
it's not that though.
Then again, well, go on. The fact that a kid just talked to a random dude on the swings.
Yeah, and the mum and the dad were totally fine with it.
Well, it's implied to be the late 90s. I guess they just weren't fussed. The mum and dad would be distracted trying to collect pogs in the walkers or something. I don't know. They were off buying a Furby. They were in the line for a Furby outside of oh god, what were they called? What?
Toys R Us?
No, what was the one with the dog, the yellow side? Toy Master. They were queued outside Toy Master trying to get all of a Furby on release. They were very distracted. Please stop having a go at them. So...
I've seen more Cabbage Patch Kids.
The late 90s?
You said mid-late 90s.
Late 90s. Furbies. Furbies ahoy. Betty Spaghetti. Early Brats. Anyway, the point is... This is a great opener story, I think. Like, the stakes aren't universe-ending high. Like, they're still big and scary. What's the name of the company? Have you got it there? Because we've got it's Celia Imrie, isn't it? Playing
Miss Kislet.
Playing Miss Kislet, who's the head of... Does that have the company there in the Dingley Hop? No. Well, because that's the thing, isn't it? They're not a known asset, I guess. So if they don't have a name, that makes sense. They're the way they get. I love this as an idea. This is a very Moffat, in a good way, trope. Him taking something that we all see day to day and turning it into something scary, like shadows, or just a kid asking for their mum, like just really natural things. And in this instance, it's when you're trying to connect to the Wi-Fi and you see a different thing and you go, oh, what's that? And you click on it.
Who does that?
If you're out in public, like, you're going to try and look for the cafes one or whatever, or you don't know the name, or...
Absolutely not.
But then think about it, like when you try to connect to it at home when it's gone out, whatever, and sometimes you'll see, like, a neighbour's one's got a really funny name, and you go, okay, that's hilarious. Like, it's just...
click on it, though.
Oh, my God.
Or is that just me?
Well, that's the thing, if you click on it, normally what happens is it say, like, password, and you go, oh, yeah, shit, never mind. Whereas, in this instance, Clara's computer illiterate. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
And the password was...
Can't remember now. What's the password? Oh, RYCBAR, and then some numbers, whatever. And she spelt it out to herself as "Run, you clever boy." Who is the mysterious woman who gave her the phone number? This series doesn't bother with it. We will learn who it is.
Oh, really?
Yes. Who do you think it is?
River?
Why?
I can tell on your face that I'm right.
Why?
Because who else would it be?
But why would River do it? When you find out who it is, the reason why they did it is even more stupid and like that makes no sense. I'd rather not tell you because you'll find out in like 12 episodes time. So I'd rather not tell you because it'll ruin it for you. Okay, I'll tell you without telling you. It is not River.
Really?
It is not River. In fact, River only appeared... River, the character who we followed over the last few series, only appears one more time, and it's in the middle of the Capaldi era.
Oh my gosh.
Toward the end of the Capaldi era.
Oh, right, okay. Well, she's not in it again now, till Capaldi.
You will see her again, but she's not a character until the late Capaldi era.
Yeah, I thought this episode was boring, to be fair.
Really, I like this one. I think this is a really comfy in. I think the duplicate robots are a bit like, wait, what? But I love the image of a head turning around to reveal sod all for the back of the skull, because it does make you immediately go, ugh, what the hell? Like, it feels weird to see. Imagine someone you're looking at turn their head and there's just nothing there for the back half of the skull. You go, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And that's fine, and that thing of it looking like people that you recognise, so like when they get to Clara, like they obviously just assume from the book in her room or whatever, so it's the girl from the front cover of the book, which I don't think this episode touches on. The book's written by Amelia Williams.
That's in the Wikipedia.
And the continuity bit.
Yeah.
Does it say that it's brought up again? Or is it just not? Because we have it upstairs. We have one of the tie-in novels that has short stories based on stuff, has that as a cover. We've got it upstairs, yeah. I should have brought it down here and put it on the bloody display, but I'm an idiot. No, I mean this is technically incorrect. This is the wrong TARDIS. It's the right exterior, but the interior is wrong now. And this isn't his costume. He doesn't wear this for these 4 episodes, does he? He wears like a brown purple coat with just no waistcoat. I like his... should we talk about that briefly? I like his look.
Yeah.
It suits him. It feels like a natural extension of the geography teacher melding with like the green overcoat look. It feels right. I like it. It's pretty neat. With or without the waistcoat, I think it looks quite nice.
And the bow tie.
Yeah, we've got bow ties, a bit more patterns on them now as well. Like purple and brown speckled ones, things like that. I like the design of the spoon heads, as they're called, like in the script.
Do you?
Yeah, do you know why? Who's the villain? Who did the villain turn out to be?
The Great Intelligence.
Great Intelligence, chronologically, after the events of the Troughton stories. Yeah.
Oh, there's that bit.
So the Great Intelligence stuck around. Abominable Snowmen, Web of Fear, that's happened for the Great Intelligence. It's now forming a new, it's now forming itself again into something else, which seems to be this network, which it has set up over, based on Celia Imrie's character's age and what she regresses to when he disconnects from her. He's been setting up over several decades.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Probably, I don't know, maybe the late 60s, early 70s, which was maybe when she was a child. Which was the last time he was around in Web of Fear.
That's scary.
It's scary. That her reverting back to where she was before she was kind of tapped into is freaky. And the thing is, it's made even better by the fact that we see it happen to the other guys in the office first, and they're all clearly just like a year, 2, 3 years removed from where they were obviously like amalgamated. Like the posh henchman dude is just a bloke who was like looking for the toilet or something. Or he was like coming to clean the toilets or something. He was a plumber.
Wasn't he like a builder or something? I know he was a janitor once. He was coming to fix the bathroom.
Yeah, like a plumber or whatever. Like that's the fact that he immediately reverts to a different personality.
Yeah.
And you realise just how much he's been like customised to be what was needed. And everyone in that room is like that. Like no one there is who we thought they were. Which is the perfect cover, because obviously when Unit, because we get an appearance from Unit, when Unit raid the place, they can't pin it on anyone. Like there's no trace of what was going on, really. We know that a good few thousand of people die because their bodies have already been buried, cremated, like whatever. So when this network thing gets broken, they don't go back to a body. Because there's nothing for them to go back to, so they're just going to be dead. But the reason why they revert everybody back is because there's a chance that some of them will be able to go back because they've only just been taken in like the last day or so. That's really morbid. I love the fact that it opens with someone like talking about the conspiracy of it to set up the premise. It's sort of like the end of Blink, but at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, like Blink ends with like the whole montage of the statues. This is like, here's what's happened, but I can't do anything about it because I've also been taken. It's just like, oh, it's freaky. The reason I like the design of the spoonheads is because, do you remember what sort of like the inside of the Yeti look like? Like these really basic robots. Like proper clunky old school 60s tin toy kind of designs inside them. Well, what do these things look like?
Spoons.
Yeah, but what did the body look like? It was just sort of like rectangle and little stringy arms. They look really... Remember we had one out on the table in the driveway?
Yeah.
Like they look really basic, and I kind of fits to me. That fits what we've seen with the Great Intelligence before.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. The twist that it is the Great Intelligence is nice because it suddenly makes you realise that that thing we saw in the last episode at Christmas, it's part of the series thread. Okay, interesting. Made sense, because otherwise it was a bit weird that we just brought back one of like Troughton's more significant villains and he was in a story and then gone. It's just like, no, he's actually around for the season, and Richard E. Grant is going to be back to portray like the face of it and stuff, and it's like, good. I love the plane sequence. The way that's shot, the camera tricks used in that to go from the TARDIS into the plane cockpit and everything.
Yeah, that is
spectacular. That looks so good. And the fact that Clara's holding that cup of tea the entire time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's so good.
Damn it. I mean, what?
Career tracker. We need to keep up with Clara's career. Now we're with Clara Prime. We need to figure out like what her career path is. So she knows this family. We learn this over the course of these episodes. The mother of the family passes away. The father can't take care of the kids all the time. He's obviously got a high pressure job somewhere, a job that has him travelling or whatever, because he's the only provider, like he needs to carry on. Clara's a family friend who then offers basically to be a nanny. And as she says, while she's like waiting for her, it's like while she's waiting for her results or a qualification or whatever. So she's got a job on the horizon that she's just waiting to finish getting like all the sign off for it. And in the meantime, she's being a live-in nanny at this house, a friend's house. Do we ever learn his name? Nope. Do we learn the kids' names? We will eventually. Didn't this time, really. But Clara is currently a temporary nanny.
Yeah.
So that's her job right now. Keep track of this stuff, kids! Because we're getting into Amy Pond levels of... Wait, I thought she was... But why now is she later on? So, yeah. Him settling her in the bed is sweet as anything. When she's unconscious and he puts her in the bed and like puts like a little jar of flowers and a glass of water and then a pack of jammy Dodgers and can't resist having a bite out of one of them. Yeah. And he does it like it's the most sumptuous meal someone has ever seen. So it's, yeah, that is... I love that. I love that he seems to be developing a little quirk for biscuits.
Yeah.
And we learn about the 100 places to see or whatever it is, 100 things to see or do, the travel book that we learn a bit more about in the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the hook.
For, like, around the world.
Where he essentially says, like, you know, come on, let's go. It's a time machine. We could be back before tea or whatever. Yeah. Like, let's go. And it's sort of odd this time because she's sort of like, let me decide, because it's hit her like a freight train. Yeah. She hasn't sought this out. He's arrived in her life and then all this stuff has happened.
He's used to her in a way, and she's not used
to him yet. So she's like, pick me up tomorrow. And he's like, okay, sure. It's a little sinister this time. There's a twinge of sinisterness to it. No one's being sinister, but the notion of he uses her, like, evidence that she wants to travel as the hook. Not because he's like, I want a new friend, she's amazing, we're going to go on an adventure, it'll be great, like usual. It's because I need to keep her around because I've got to figure out who she is.
Yeah. That's
a bit different.
Go get him in.
It puts an odd... Yeah, there's noises coming from the kitchen that are a bit mysterious. I think it's one of the cats. There's... I
hope it's one of the cats.
Good lord.
It's the doctor.
It's a spoonhead.
Oh, God.
Like when one turns up looking like him, that's sinister.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's really sinister. And when the cafe are all kind of being hacked to talk to him, is a pretty fun sequence.
Yeah, that's true.
Man with chips, like being sort of an oddly camp performance because he's just doing an impression of Celia Imrie talking. The big burly guy, the hairy guy in the leather jacket with the chips, is just sort of like, you can't stop us, you know. And all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
yeah.
those things are kind of fun, and him driving a quadricycle up the side of the gherkin is a fun visual. Like, it is a fun visual to see. The TARDIS arriving on the South Bank, and people just thinking it's one of the buskers on the South Bank. As people who used to walk along the South Bank quite a lot. Don't know about you, I found that funny.
Yeah.
I was like, that's funny. That's
and he's just like, he's just got a hat.
A fez. Specifically fez. A fez. Yeah. And
people are putting money in it like, yay.
And he's still wearing Amy's glasses, which is adorable.
Yeah.
You're not too fussed about this one. I quite like it. Let's talk about one which I think we both thought was shite back in the day, and whether or not we feel the same now. The Rings of Akhaten. We're back in the pattern from the start of the reboot series, where it's like modern day story, space story, historical story. Your first three will always be these. Space. And they've gone back to that pattern.
Space story, man.
Yeah, the Doctor takes Clara to the Rings of Akhaten. This sort of series of asteroids and bits of planet that circle this giant, what appears to be a sun. And yeah, there's a sort of ritual that's attended every however many thingies, where like there's someone, the queen of something. What's she referred to as?
Let's have a little look.
Have a little look at it on the Wikipedia.
I'm going to sneeze. Sorry.
We'll capture on camera, it'll be magical.
No.
And I'll zoom out to reveal the dog. Bless you. My wife sneezes like a Disney princess. It's not put on. She genuinely does it like that. Oh, and then one naughty one sneaked out.
Hay fever. Yeah, it's...
We're recording this in June.
Hay fever is horrendous.
What's she called? The Queen of the Bing Bing.
Queen of... Bing. I can't find it.
No worries. But yeah, so she's got a
Queen of Years.
Queen of Years, and she's got a set played by. Do you know who she's played by? Because she's pretty good. Like, kid actors can be hit and miss, but Andy Pryor usually doesn't steer us wrong.
Amelia Jones.
Amelia Jones does a really good job, and I believe she's the vocals as well.
Oh my gosh!
Because I'm pretty sure the two who we see singing in this are the two we saw in concert in 2013.
Oh my god! She was born in 2002, and she's 20 years old.
Yes, that's called maths.
That's how time works. I don't understand that, but it's not on.
Good lord. The Queen of Years has to sing to Grandfather to keep him asleep, which is a whole ritual thing. If you've seen this episode, you've seen it. Chances are you are sort of the large majority of people who also thought, what the hell was this one? I used to belong to that majority.
Yeah.
I think I'm dipping a leg over the fence into the people who like it now.
It wasn't as bad as I remembered it.
Like, it's got a lot of problems. Let's talk about what doesn't work first and get that out of the way. Whoever directed or edited this one was not very astute. There are so many costume, production and visual effects like shortcuts in this one that the camera or the edit chooses to linger on. Yeah. And it's really weird. Like really weird. For example, the aliens of the market at the beginning. Big bustling marketplace. Looks great. Problem. Well, here's the thing. Problem. You need a load of aliens to fill your market. Solution. You make a load of costumes, you recontextualise all the stuff you're not going to use anymore, and you make it as full as possible. Great. Problem. A lot of the masks are very... very static, because they've been designed to just feature in the background. Solution. You don't linger on them. They linger on them a lot. There's these two aliens who look like archetypal greys with like the triangular shaped heads.
Yeah.
That are clearly non-moving masks, but they have eyes, mouths, nostrils, and the camera lingers on them several times for more than a few seconds.
Yeah, and they
just look like Halloween masks.
Wasn't there a guy that had a repainted... The
Hoyts from Series 2.
Yeah. And then...
Yeah, so it's the big scary Scooby-Doo chase monster from... Love and Monsters,
right? With
the electric mouth taken out, and it's been painted green. A gas mask thing's been put in where the mouth used to be, but not only is it like, well, you could just go, oh, maybe it's an alien from, just like it's a similar alien from a similar part of the galaxy, or maybe it is a Hoyt because we just can't see its big teeth mouth because it's in the mask or whatever. Sure, fine. Why does the actor underneath the mask not have their eyes painted, eyelids and eye area painted to blend in with the mask? And why does it walk close to camera so we can see the fact that there's a massive gap between where its face is and where the actual eyes are? It's so weird. But in the background, that would not be an issue at all.
But it
walks into camera and has an on-camera moment with Clara.
Yeah. And then he walks towards the camera and past it. And it's like, oh no, you can see it so obvious.
You have the trader who barks like a dog. Great look. Looks great. She looked amazing. And then the doctor tickles their chin. And the rubber of it literally like flaps up over the mouth. You're like, oh my god, you just didn't have to include that shot. Or you could have just been like, guys, could we just get that one more time, Matt? Don't put so much force on it. Or just anything for an alternative option. The crowd scene when we first, and then every subsequent time we see them at like the amphitheatre watching the performance of the song. It's the same 8, maybe 9 artists copied and pasted in only slightly different combinations several times.
We played a fun game, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, this is a common technique used to fill crowds in with effect shots.
Yeah.
Absolutely common technique. Like you watch, even go back to Lord of the Rings, where they developed, Weta and Co. developed the technology, ILM developed the technology to have an army of like Uruk-hai of like 1,000+ characters on screen at one time. If you go through it frame by frame, you will spot the same like one guy multiplied a bunch. although that technology develops, made it so that there'd be like different angles or different shadings, so none would ever look exactly the same or move exactly the same. But like one might be a second ahead of the other one or something like that. It's more obvious in like if you watch the last few episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where they use the same studio, they work with them to create all the Uber Vamps in the Hellmouth. They use the same technology to like have that. Remember that reveal shot in like the penultimate episode of like, oh my god, there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
Same, but that one's a little more obvious because it's a TV budget.
Yeah.
I get it. Doctor Who is guilty of this twice in this era, where it's really painfully obviously copy and pasted. The next time is in Series 10's The Pilot, in the University Lecture Hall. And that's even more embarrassing because it's just the same human students. Whereas here, it's different aliens. It's too obvious, isn't it? Like, we found like the same woman on like 7 times on one side of the screen. Yeah. And the reason why this is a problem is because the shot lingers on them. The shot is there for like a good 20 seconds of this crowd, and you're like, I can see the same guy over there, and that one is literally the same one copied pasted because they're moving the same way.
It was bad.
Oh, it's really bad. We had fun with it. And lastly, the leaf continuity. That is not the same leaf from the previous episode. No. Like it's painfully obviously a different leaf. It's bigger and rounder for some reason. What happened there? Anyway. And that's really embarrassing because the leaf plays a fucking... Pardon my language, but I'm getting really passionate now. The leaf plays a focal point.
Yeah.
In this story. So the fact that it looks different from the one that was like signposted to us last week, where the Doctor like picks it up out of a book and like sniffs it and holds it to his face and looks at it, and we, the viewer, are looking at the main character's face we're used to and seeing this object in front of it, getting used to how it looks in front of his face, this, that and the other, and then the next week be like, here's that same leaf, viewer. Of course you're going to go, no it isn't. No it bloody isn't. Might be the one that's in the flashbacks at the start of this episode, but it ain't the one that was in last week. So what's going on? What do you think about the flashbacks? I don't hate them, but they give us one more flaw. Which is Clara's dad looks about a year older than her.
Oh, yeah. They tried to make him look older very, very unsuccessfully.
Now, I think it would have been perfectly reasonable to just recast the dad for that one shot. Because
and you said, like, not even filming from the front, filming from the back.
Yeah, filming from the back, or have him in soft focus a bit further back, Clara at her mum's graveside. We were also trying to figure out, like, Clara's age and stuff as well, and it was becoming this weird little hang-on. So is this in 2005? Because if so, like, she's like, what? She's meant to be like 14, maybe 15. So was she in her early 20s when the Doctor picks her up? Or is this then more present day? If this is then more present day, her dad does not look how old he should be. Like, based on how old he was around the same time as her mum and stuff. And, like, this makes no sense whatsoever. It's even more hilarious because we'll see Clara's dad again in the last 11th Doctor story. And as far as I remember, it is a much different actor and they cast older. God. So it's like, what was the point then? Oh, God. The Moffat era does not pay attention to nor do anything for the companions' families. Brian gets away with being looked after in Series 7 Part 1 because Chibnall writes those 2 scripts. So he's in those 2 scripts. And then that's it. That's it for Brian. Like, he never comes back. Like, we never see him again. We never find out what happened to him. We'll do PS, don't worry. But, yeah. Oh, God. Stuff we liked. As much as it copies from other second episodes, Amy talking to the crying girl in Beast Below is basically replicated beat for beat here, with Clara chasing after Queen of the Nevers, Queen of the Years. Sorry,
Queen of the what?
Queen of the Nevers. I'm thinking of the Meanwhile King and Neverwers and all that sort of stuff. Clara chasing after the Queen of the Years and talking to her and, like, you know, trying to pep her up and stuff, like hiding. Feels exactly like it's the exact same as the Beast Below.
Yeah.
The fact that it's just this overwhelming batch of aliens feels very end of the world, but that one obviously did it better because it was like Rose going through a culture shock and it freaking her out as it would do, whereas Clara's just very quickly like, okay, sure. Now, maybe that's because they're like, it's the 7th series of the show, let's move on. But it's like, can we... okay, sure. I don't know, that feels weird. But I like the market set. I think that looks fantastic. I love the idea of emotional attachment and care and love and feelings for an object because it's attached to something important or reminds you of someone important being a currency, because it's kind of bittersweet. But it's this weird twist on, capitalism and what really matters and how that's the value of things. Yeah. So like that's a cool idea.
That gave me anxiety. That.
Well, because you were like, oh God, what would I give away?
Like, I won't give anything away. What are you going to do with it? What does it mean to you? Nothing.
I like the offhanded mention that he has been here before. He says, came here with my granddaughter, and Clara just sort of goes, wait, what? And they don't dwell on it. And it's like, oh, that's cute. So he's not been here for a very long time then.
Was that my impression?
Of Richard Hurndall. Yeah.
I really like that.
That was a great Richard Hurndall. Now eat pineapple uncomfortably close to the camera.
No, I shan't.
It's Christmas. So...
Merry Christmas to all of you out there.
Wrong! That's William Hartnell. He's not the first Doctor. There was a bunch of people online will moan and say, even though he is, because the Doctor doesn't really number himself in the show. Anyway, the point is... I like that. I like the designs for the episode-specific elements. Like the robes of the Queen of Years and the people who are involved in the ritual. I think that's a really nice look. Sort of the odd face paint that they're all sporting. I think Grandfather is a creepy-ass design. He's real creepy.
Wait...
That's the curved head dude that they thought was the old god that they had to pray to.
He looked like something out of Hellboy.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the whole opening sequence gave me Hellboy 2, the Golden Army vibes.
Yeah, the marketplace.
Because the marketplace, the troll market.
Now I'm remembering that.
Oh, that film's so good.
Just some of the gross things that
film is so good.
It's very beautiful.
And I really like the design of, I can't remember what they're called now, but like his guardians, essentially. Yeah. They look eerie as sin.
I would probably pee myself if I saw one of them.
Fair point.
But they look like... I was distracted because they look like the nameless... They look like the nameless ghouls from...
Ghosts.
Now.
Oh, their current design, the steampunk one. Yeah, I feel that. I vibe that.
And every time I saw them, I was just like, guys, carry on.
You just wait for, like, we reveal the old god, it's just Papa Emeritus.
That would have been amazing.
Good evening, Akhaten. Are you doing well in this summer heat? Are you in heat?
No, it's a kids' show. What are you talking about? There shall be no tickling of taints.
Look up the band Ghost and don't be frightened, children.
Join
the clergy. So
their design is really good.
And I like the idea of him finding out that the old god isn't this thing. Grandfather was an alarm clock. He was like the next wave before what the actual thing was, which was the sun, essentially. It was this creature living in the energy source that the Doctor labels a parasite. Like, it's been... The reason emotion is a currency around here is because that's what it feeds off of. It feeds off of fear and anxiety and loss and tragedy and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, interesting. And that's when it kind of falls apart. Toward the end, it's like, what did any of it mean, really? Do you know what I mean? Like, what did any of this mean? And I think that's why I didn't like it so much in retrospect, because it's like, I don't get what the point of it was. Like, the reason it all happens and exists is so that Clara can make that sacrifice in a way. I mean, you don't really sacrifice anything. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't really mean anything. At the end, the Doctor's like, right, you're going to get all pissy and ruin this solar system, so I'm going to feed you like all the emotion you could ever want. I've lived that thousands of years, and I'm going to give you everything. Take it all, baby, and we'll get to that. And then it's not quite ready, and then Clara tips it over the edge with the leaf, which is like the one thing she really has of her mum's, because it's the leaf that like blew into her dad's face and nearly got him run over, and his mum pushed her out of the way, and then they met and fell in love, and like there's a lovely idea in there. And then the Doctor explains the reason it dies, like, well, it doesn't die, but it overstuffs itself and goes back into hibernation or whatever, is because Clara feeds it the days that never were. Like, the reason she holds on to it is because it's what?
That doesn't make much sense to me.
No, but like she gives it endless possibility. It takes everyone's memories and feelings associated with things they've been through. But then Clara's like, this thing isn't just a memory of my mum. It's a representation of the life she should have had. Like, I feel like she had so much more to give. That's why I hold on to this thing, because it reminds me that she should, as far as I'm concerned, she should still be here. So it's kind of Weeping Angel logic. It's like it then overstuffs itself on the days that her mum should have had, based on how Clara feels that that's how that should be. And that's what I'm saying. The whole point of it is just to make us go, oh, so we learn a bit about Clara and her family and you know, her sentiments and her ideas on love and loss and what she's been through. But what does that mean for Akhaten? Is it fine now, I guess? Is it okay?
It's on fire. Bye!
No, but do you know what I mean? It's like, is everything all right?
Yeah.
I don't... And also, there's no consequences for giving it memories. Like... So... The song is meant to keep grandfather asleep because grandfather, if he doesn't stay asleep, will wake up the parasite. Will want to eat more in one go. But like, what I'm saying is there's no consequences to individuals for giving it their memories or their sorrow or their feelings or emotions.
Yeah.
Like, the immediate consequence will be, oh, it'll be unstable and the whole area will collapse and all the planets will drift off or whatever. But it's like... Okay. So what sacrifice is being made, really?
Yeah.
Like, Clara's leaf dissolves. And that sucks, because that's her kind of... Not letting go of her mum, but, like, you know, showing that she's strong enough now that she doesn't need the memento to hold on to her. Like, it's just a symbol. But it's also saying, like, oh, it's just a symbol, but it's so powerful that it destroys a parasite god. And, like, the Doctor's like, I'll give it all my memories and stuff, feed off of me. And then he gets a bit knackered, but he's still alive and fine. So I don't understand what the threat is to the individual, or what the sacrifice of memories actually means in the transaction with this planet. It just feels very sloppy.
Like I say, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It makes... It I feel like maybe they wrote something.
It's Neil Cross, isn't it, who wrote this one?
Let me see.
Neil Cross of Luther fame.
I feel like, oh my god, I'm so bummed up now. Let me see you.
Go on, hand us that for a second while you make your point. Bless you.
Oh, thank you. I feel like they were onto something with the giving something that means so much to you. Like, as if, like, you've got to sacrifice a small bit of you to save the majority.
Mm.
But then they just kind of...
Everything's fine, and there doesn't need to be a Queen of Nevers anymore.
They just kind of shit themselves and was like, oh, it's got to have more meaning. No, it doesn't have to have more meaning. If there was a shot to say, like, to have her holding the leaf and her crying at the thought of her giving it away, but then maybe looking behind her and seeing the destruction, and she's like, oh god, I have to give this to save everyone.
Yeah.
And she literally, you know, just hands it out and it dissolves, and then it's like...
Like, we then learn what it really kind of meant to do that.
Yeah,
or, yeah.
And it was such a powerful emotion that that's what...
And that's the thing, Jenna Coleman plays it very well. And Matt Smith plays the preceding sequence very well. I just don't get what it's for. Outside of their character and telling the viewer more about them.
And then they're fine.
That's the thing, innit? Like, everything's fine. Like, there's no consequence to it for them sacrificing anything, which means they didn't really sacrifice anything. It's just sort of...
Like, if I... Say, for example...
It'd be like you going up against it and throwing your wedding ring at it and be like, this is attached to, like, all the happiest memories or whatever, la la la, there it is. And then it saves the day, and then you turn around and go, right, shall I go get another one done from the same place?
Yeah.
It's the leaf is symbolic of something else.
Yeah.
So why does the sacrifice of the leaf to the god do anything?
Yeah, exactly.
For Clara, I get it. It's her kind of, like, moving on in a way. But, like...
But it hits me. It's like I have a strange thing where I am emotionally attached to pretty much everything I own.
Yeah.
And if I lose something, I'm distraught about it. So it kind of triggered me, like, don't give your things away. That person's not going to look after it. Don't do it.
That dog's just going to put it in a pile next to that flying bike.
Yeah, what's that person going to do with it? That didn't really...
Sniff it, probably. It's a dog.
Didn't really make much sense to me. If they were to put it into a machine, maybe, and it gave out a literal currency of how much it's worth.
Well, that'd be a separate episode with a different kind of commentary, I guess, overall.
Doesn't make any sense. I don't like it.
Let's talk about the two most remembered things from this episode. Let's talk about the song. I think it is beautiful.
if
you don't listen to the lyrics. Right, it's not just me, is it? When Murray Gold writes lyrics to a song, it's usually it plays off a little naff to us, doesn't it? Sleep now, you get. Like, it's just sort of like, oh, for God's sake. Like, don't even get me started on song. What was it? Happy Birthday, Doctor Who, or whatever it was. The song he wrote for Doctor Who for the birthday. So we went to the concert in the 50th anniversary year. We went to like the big concert at the Royal Albert Hall. And we watched it from the gods, and it was a boiling hot day, but it was a great gig, and it was a lot of fun. We went with some lovely friends. It was lovely. It was great.
I barely remember it because I was dying.
We had a gay old time. We had a grand old flag.
We queued for so long.
And we talked about this. If you go back to our early video about the proms, we talked about it in that one as well.
We were lovely people.
But my favourite... One of my favourite memories from it, I think it's yours too, is when you had Neve McIntosh and Dan Starkey in full makeup as Madame Vastra and Strax,
and they were
respectively.
Amazing.
They were great. And they introduced...
Must have had aircon down there, Jesus Christ.
And they introduced this portion where we were going to hear an arrangement and the vocal performance, complete with the two artists who played the characters in this, reprising the roles, so it was them vocally, and I looked up on the thing you passed me then, Adad's Aled Jones, so of course she knows how to choir sing. So they came out and they performed. But throughout the whole concert so far, whenever an episode was referenced specifically to introduce what the suite was going to be, or whatever the movements, people would sort of go like, "Way!" You know what I mean?
I like that one.
And Neve McIntosh, Madame Vastra, tells us we're going to hear from this year's musical triumph, The Rings of Akhaten, and the whole Royal Albert Hall. We'd been like this for every other episode. You ready? Woo! For this one, so it went.
Oh.
Now Neve never broke. She was brilliant, but it was just like, you could tell that the consensus in the Royal Albert Hall was, what, that one?
Oh God, this one.
But it is once it gets to the main part, once it gets into the bulk of it, it is beautiful. Like the arrangement, the delivery is gorgeous.
If you genuinely don't listen to the lyrics, it's beautiful.
It's the same as Christmas Carol. Like that one. I think when he co-writes with people, it works out okay. Like co-writing with Neil Hannon on Love Don't Roam and Song for 10. You know, co-writing with Catherine Jenkins
like that song.
on Silence, whatever it's called. But that one as well. Some of those lyrics, what? Huh? And I think a lot of it is just down to the musical arrangement and the performer's delivery to distract you from, what the hell is this? But it is lovely. The other thing about this episode that is lauded is the Doctor challenging the parasite and giving it his memories. And the dialogue is very good, and it does hint at things we know and hint at things we don't know, and Matt Smith goes for it. Mm-hmm. And you can see that it's all one take, or as close to one take as possible, with multiple camera angles, because there are a couple shots where it cuts to almost a profile of him from the side, like a voyeuristic shot, and it cuts back into the close-up on his face, and you can see it's the same physicality. He is bawling his eyes out, and he is raging, and he's going for it. On this watch, we discovered something that we can't unsee. If you love this scene, if you love the take it all baby scene,
that makes me feel uncomfortable.
If you love it and you don't want it tainted for you, skip ahead about 60 seconds from now. Okay? Off you go. Get to the cursor and... Yep, cool.
It's not quite that bad, guys.
No, but it's distracting. He's reading it off cue cards.
I'll be honest with you. It's more noticeable to you.
Now, the turnaround on that show, the production, the amount of work they've got to do in any given work week, my complaint is not that he's reading it off cue cards.
No.
There will be countless shots in the show, new and old, where our main characters will be reading a line from just off camera because it's a line they can't quite get in their head before they need to record it, or it's a line that's been rewritten on the floor, so there's a prompt there,
really
or it's techno babble and they just kind of need it just off site. But you don't notice it because of the direction and the choice of edit. The choice to have a massive close-up on Matt Smith's face, where he's looking, the way you're looking at us, folks. Let's see, the footage is flipped, isn't it? So he's looking up there, right? Every now and again, his eyes go down here like that and then go back up. Because they've chosen to put the cue cards down here instead of up here, where it wouldn't be a problem. Because he's looking at a giant flaming ball the size of a sun. So of course his eyes would move around a bit in where he's looking. Because you'd look at the whole thing, you know what I mean? You don't just look at a horse's face when there's a horse meandering towards you. You kind of look at all of it, because in your head, your brain is wanting to make sure, am I being trampled on? Is it a little too close? Is it, do you know what I mean? But same with like looking at a bloody sun. So the choice to be like, Matt, look up here, I will put your lines down here, is dumb. It is so dumb. Unless he's on a wider shot. But he isn't. He's on an extreme close-up and you can see his eyes.
Is there a possibility that it's not?
What?
That it's not that he's looking at cue cards.
Then why were his eyes going down and darting left to right and then looking back up?
He's got problems.
No. It's not a problem of Matt's. It's a problem of whoever set up that shot and then looked at that in the edit and went, yeah, that's fine. It's really weird to me. Like, I find it so weird because it's consistent with all the other weird directorial and editing cock-ups in this episode. There's a lot of them in this episode, and this is just like the icing on the cake. You get to the end and you go, yeah, but that speech at the end, it's like, yeah, except that. Apologies to everyone who'd never noticed it before and now won't be able to unnotice it. One last factoid about this one before we move on to Cold War. It's kind of come to light over the years that there was meant to be more puppety work in Cold War for the Ice Warrior, outside of its armour. We know this because there are some puppet shots in Cold War. There's some really bad editing in Cold War to obviously compensate for shots they couldn't use or decided not to use. The CGI Ice Warrior is very bouncy in Cold War in a way that the practical suit isn't.
Makes me think of something. Oh, can I just say, sorry.
This is Rings of Akhaten still. Rings of Akhaten.
Right.
Sorry, don't worry. But I was just saying, there's a puppet Ice Warrior out there, and the big giveaway that there was a different version of it is the toy, the 3.7-inch play sets. The Cold War one featured the Ice Warrior out of its armour, and it looks, apart from the hands, the long dual-fingered hands with nails, it looks nothing like the CGI face we see in Cold War. But what it does look like is a puppet that is sat running a stall in the background of several shots of the Rings of Akhaten. In the first 5 minutes, keep your eye out for a string-thin puppet in the background of some shots, which is being puppeteered. Like, it is moving. It's looking around, and it's, like, fiddling with something on the table near it.
Looks a bit like the... Were they called bugs in Men in Black?
Yeah, it's all like it looks kind of like the... Let's call them the bugs. Like the little dudes are always drinking the coffee in Men in Black, so it looks like one of them. Or like the things from Signs or whatever. It's just this long limb thing. So before Cold War, you get a preview, and that's what weirds me out. Because if they did choose to still use these shots they clearly dropped out of Cold War, does that mean they were using this in the background just to fill it out? Or as a little Easter egg so that when you watch it in the future you go, oh, hang on, that's an Ice Warrior back there. Do you know what I mean?
Or were they just looking for monsters to put in?
Or had they already realised at that point we're probably not going to use the puppet in the edit?
That's sad.
So we'll just use it in Rings of Akhaten. Depends on when they were shot.
Sorry for whoever made that puppet because it was very good.
I know who puppeteered it.
Well, good for you.
I've spoken to them about it. And I know why it didn't make it into the cut, but those are things that be telling tales out of school, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah, go on. What's the thing in Rings of Akhaten before we crack on to Kill Drill?
The big parasite sun thing made me think of a pumpkin bomb. A Green Goblin pumpkin bomb. And I couldn't unsee it. It looked stupid.
It did, didn't it?
With its big stupid face looking angry. It was like, oh, that looks like something from like a cheap, I don't know, Christmas special or something. Like Mrs. Brown's Boys would put on or something.
What?
I don't know.
What Mrs. Brown's Boys have you seen? The one with the giant flaming pumpkin sun?
No, it looked like CG that maybe you'd find in a shitty Christmas special of a shitty show like that. Sorry, no offence if you like Brown's Boys, but make better choices.
Moving swiftly on before not Chris alienates most of our remaining audience.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Cold War's kind of boring, isn't it?
Well, I thought it was better than.
Cold War's got a lot of promise. It's got a lot of promise, and I think it has some genuine tension.
But I like the actors in it.
But again,
so
it just kind of it just kind of feels like it's.
Yeah.
By the time it's finished, I don't know. It feels like it needed a third act twist of some kind. Just something, because
maybe it's
a lot of people shouting at each other in corridors for 40 minutes.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's in a submarine that is already damaged. Yeah. It's underwater, obviously underwater. It's at the bottom of the sea, so you can't exactly like pop out and swim to the surface.
I agree.
It's very claustrophobic. Things are damaged. You're in the middle of the Cold War. If something accidentally happens, like if one of the torpedoes accidentally...
Do you know what? That's what it was. That's what it needed.
What?
We needed to see the outside forces, like the people that the war would kick off with. Like, there needed to be...
America.
Yeah, like America, or whichever the coast is they were going to hit with the nukes or whatever that were triggered. We needed to just, like, have them aware that something might be able to happen. So there was just that external level of tension we could see.
I think there was, really, wasn't
there? It's absolutely... And again, it's absolutely established in the episode.
With the ice warriors.
But the fact that we're just in this room, this corridor, the first corridor relit and shot from a different angle... It didn't... it didn't feel very exciting.
No,
even though there was a lot of tension and peril built into it.
I think it was meant to make you feel claustrophobic. And I don't suffer with claustrophobia, but if anything, I prefer to be in a small area. It's I think that's what they were going for, and I think
maybe
because there's literally nowhere to run. You cannot escape.
True. And yeah,
like there's danger
maybe
where
what it
you
needed
are.
Was more.
Hold on, let me finish. Sorry, that was rude. There's danger where you are. There's danger if you leave, and there's danger at home.
Do you know
so there is literally nowhere safe.
Do you know what I think it was?
And the TARDIS is.
Do you know what I think it was then? We never really saw the consequences of stumbling into one of those dangerous situations. We get the suggestion of it when we get told that there's a room full of the body parts of 2 of the crew.
Ooh, yeah, that's
but and I'm not saying that they should show that in Doctor Who, but like we get told that's what everyone's looking at. We don't see the consequences.
The arms stuck up, which is great.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we never see the Ice Warrior do anything that shows how dangerous it is.
No, that's true.
We get told how dangerous it is. We see it holding people's heads. It kills off someone off screen whose head it holds, and we never see it.
Yeah.
Like, just... I am more frightened of the Dalek in Dalek when it plunges someone's face to pieces than I am of the Ice Warrior in this story.
Okay.
No, but because I know what that Dalek's plunger can do if it gets to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not even counting it shooting people, it rotating to blast everyone in the hallway. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you see the
You
see the plunger crush a man's face. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Do we ever see the Ice Warrior kill someone?
Imagine going on.
Do we ever see the Ice Warrior kill someone?
No.
No.
That'd be embarrassing going on stupid deaths, wouldn't it?
It's funny because they're true. How did you die? A pair of gremlin hands pulled me into a rafter and then something happened, maybe. The plunger.
I got plunged in the face and I died. That was
You're through to the afterlife.
Shut up, Louis.
Ooh. For the one Horrible Histories fan watching this series, that was for you. Anyway, yeah, I think, here's the thing, I like everything that's in this. I like the cast, I like the setting, I think the pacing of it is quite nice. I think that scenes where it is meant to be all about tension, like Clara going to interview what's his name? Is it Skaldak?
That sounds familiar.
Look at that there cast. Like, Clara going in to talk to him is like, that is a tense scene. When it first grabs, I can't remember the guy.
Skaldak, yeah.
Skaldak. What's the other cast member? Toby something? Tobias something?
What?
Cast member name. Toby, Tobias.
Tobias Menzies.
Tobias Menzies. When it grabs his character's face at first, it's very tense. But then it just keeps cutting back to him having a conversation with this rubber hand sat on his face. You're like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know that there was an alternate version of that they would have shot where, like, it would have had him pinned up against the wall and you would have seen this gangly thing looking up at him. And it would have been a lot more of a scene, and instead it's just puppet hand, puppet hand, puppet hand. And it's like, what's happening? They're having a whole conversation while it's just kind of groping his head. Like, what is this? It's just very... So what's he called? Tobias Menzies?
Yeah.
So, tiny story, which I've never really told publicly, but I can tell it now. So back in, I want to say 2012.
Back in my day.
I was doing behind-the-scenes filming on a CBBC show called Wizards vs. Aliens, which was by the same team who made the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Which was amazing.
It was great, wasn't it?
Really.
Short-lived and definitely deserved a fourth series because it sets itself up beautifully for new stories.
Who played the main wizard?
Scott Harron, who you fancy the pants off of. And I told him that and had him shoot a little video for you when I went behind the scenes on the third series. Again, wonderful like cast and crew, great teams, a lot of fun to work with. I did 4 behind-the-scenes featurettes for Wizards vs. Aliens, 1 for each series and then 1 additional one with the Doctor Who Confidential team for the Wizards vs. Aliens pages on the CBBC website. Whilst filming that one, I found the Crooked Man from Hyde and Zygon arms in a bag. That's not a joke. It was great. It was like, this is weird. Oh, those are Zygon arms.
The thing is...
Well, I guess they're going to be in the 50th anniversary, he said to himself.
Why were you going through those bags?
I was in the makeup room and they were open.
Were you going through?
I was not going through them.
Did you fish through their bags?
No, I did not fish through their bags.
Fish through their bags?
Disclaimer, I did not fish through their bags. But late 2012, we go there to do behind the scenes on Wizards vs. Aliens, and I know that Doctor Who shot in the studio next door and adjacent to the Wizards vs. Aliens one. The Wizards vs. Aliens one had the bridge of the Necros was I think the name of the ship.
Yeah.
And it had the Chamber of Crow in it, which was a beautiful set.
I'm impressed you remember all
and
this.
it had there's some gorgeous stuff in there. You don't forget those sets when you're on them. They're like, these are beautiful.
Was that giant face real?
Yes, it was a practical effect. The King of the Necros. Yes, yeah.
Face.
And the year after where they got rid of that character, the giant practical face was draped over a couch at the production offices.
No.
Yeah, because we went upstairs to take a shortcut somewhere else. We were like, oh god, there's Brian Blessing's face.
The face. Imagine going into a studio that's maybe been abandoned. It's maybe a bit.
There's just a big yellow face in the wall.
And in the corner, there's just.
Hello!
Oh, no.
Could you fetch me a Ribena? I haven't drunk anything in years.
Brian Blessing, so what was?
As far as I'm aware.
Oh,
at the time of this recording, yes.
oh god, I've cursed it.
But anyway, Tobias Menzies was outside. We had to duck out because they were doing some filming with it was a stunt. There was like a chemical explosion as part of one of the stunts. They were blowing something up. It was in Benny's shed. So they were like blowing up stuff and they had to get as many people out as possible, like only the essential people filming around it. We stood outside, me and the CBBC extra crew and a few other people from the Wizards production team. And then some of the Doctor Who production team come out of the other door outside into the courtyard, into the car park area. Tobias Menzies in full Admiral costume. And I'm like, oh my god.
Charles, yeah.
And he comes over, yeah, of course you know from The Crown,
no, he's not Charles. Who's his dad?
Someone else.
What's his name?
Edward.
No.
No.
What's
I can't
Charles,
remember.
What's the Queen's husband called? Philip.
Philip. I don't know the royals. The royals couldn't do one. So, wait, did he take over after Matt Smith?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah, spooky. And one of
The two Philips were in Cold War together.
No, and one of the sailors in the thing plays Charles.
Well, there you go.
It's
What a
spooky.
treat! What a treat for the children.
I was like, oh.
Who else in this? Liam
Cunningham.
Cunningham. He's brilliant in this.
Oh, I love him. He's so good.
Sir Davos.
Sir Davos.
There we go. I'm not the Game of Thrones fan in the house. To be fair, there's no Game of Thrones fan in the house anymore. Series 8, you've never gone back to it, talked about it. You were reading the series and you just were like, oh, I can't be asked.
Screw this.
It's like, one of them, the ending's crap. The other one, there isn't even an ending yet, so why am I bothering?
Who wrote it again?
George R. R. Martin.
Even he was like, ooh.
Oh, he has since, hasn't he? He's talked very openly about it. And Game of Thrones connection, Matt Smith's the lead in House of Targaryen.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yes.
I'm going to have to look at this.
Anyway, Tobias Menzies outside in a uniform, and he comes over and he's like, oh, all right, hello. He says, and I was like, all right, hello. And he says, have we met? Daft question. I have a feeling we've met. And I went, no, I don't believe we have. And then he went, oh, hang on.
Oh my God, it is. He looks so funny.
By the time they're watching this, that'll have been out as well.
So sorry.
He clicked and he was like, oh, CBBC, isn't it? Yeah, no, I've been the family watch it. That's nice to meet you. And I was like, oh, lovely to meet you. He's like, Tobias, I'm Chris, nice to meet you. He says, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, we're filming behind the scenes of a CBBC show next door. And he was like, oh, he says, we're doing Doctor Who in it. And I was like, oh, really cool. He said, yeah. He says, it's amazing. Have you seen any of it? Like, just have a look through the door and you could peek through a bit and you can see a bit of the submarine. And he was like, it's sat on the submarine. It's amazing. I said, how's it going? Are you enjoying it? Now, keep in mind, when you show up to these studios and these places to film, based on what productions are on, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement before you enter. And that non-disclosure agreement prevents you from talking about anything you've seen there prior to whatever that thing may be's release or, public thingy showing off what it is. So I can talk about this now because it's 9 years later. I've talked about this to other people before. And I talked to you about it at the time, but I was just like, you can't tell anyone.
I would have nobody to say.
But he went, oh, it's amazing. He says, the moment I saw the Ice Warrior, it was incredible. The costume's so good. It was not public knowledge at this point that the Ice Warriors were coming back to Doctor Who. So I'll show you my face. I basically just saw like, oh, that's really cool. And inside I was like, what? I was amazed. Absolutely amazed. And he wasn't doing it to be like, braggy or anything. Like, I think he was just like, oh, you should see it, it's really cool. Maybe he doesn't know the significance of it, and he was just like, he thought it was a monster that had been in the show before in the, the modern era or whatever. Yeah, he was lovely, by the way. He was really nice, and like, I would love to have met David Warner. David Warner. David Warner's still with us, yeah. Right. Again, as of this recording, fingers crossed, hopefully forever.
Liam Cunningham.
Liam Cunningham's still with us.
Yeah,
he was most recently, as of this recording, I saw him in. I did not see him. No.
Okay.
He was recently the voice of Man at War in Man at Arms. Sorry, in Masters of the Universe Revelation, and he was incredible.
Oh, his wife's called Colette. That's
anyway,
nice.
Get that Cold War information back up.
Sorry.
So yeah, I was next door while they were shooting a lot of this episode, which is a weird thought. I love that the Doctor and Clara show up dressed for like a show in Vegas or something. So for the whole episode, she's in this like really big spangly dress that's covered up by just like an oversized coat from one of the officers who's given it to her to stay warm. Their rapport in this is lovely. David Warner is a fun inclusion. So he's the scientist on board. He's like the science officer of the ship, but he's also the press. But he's also just doing the janitorial duties as well, like he's mopping up or whatever when we first see him, because I guess it's like there's not much call for him at the minute. So
what was the band he likes?
Ultravox. I love that. That is so funny. Where he puts two and two together and realizes that Clara's from the future, and he says like, you have to tell me. And you think he's asking about the what happens. How does the Cold War end? And he's like, do Ultravox split up? And you realize he means it. Like that's all he wants to know. That's a really fun trait. I love the fact that you could tell Mark Gatiss probably tweaked lines or knew already that they were going to cast David Warner in that role. because he's giving like this legendary, you know, like dramatic and horror actor the most fun and weird little quirks instead, having him sing like Hungry Like the Wolf, talking about Duran Duran and everything. It's proper fun. That's great. I love that stuff. It's very sweet. He and Jenna Coleman have lovely chemistry in their scenes together. Matt Smith really delivers the weight of what an Ice Warrior is, which leads us on to the main focus of the episode, which you're all probably thinking, hang on, why haven't you two talked about it yet? I love the armour design of the Ice Warrior. I think it's a perfect adaptation of it into the modern version of the show. I hate the CGI unmasked version.
Yeah, it reminds me of something.
It looks like someone's basically done. It looks like someone's taken the modern Silurian and mashed it with a Power Rangers monster, and then decided to do it CGI.
Do you know, it looks like that shit CGI that you'd find on a Christmas special.
Of Mrs. Brown. So I'm like, what? No, it's not bad CGI per se, but it's way more bounce and stretch cartoony than the actual physical performer when you see him in the suit. Like when you see the masked Ice Warrior and you see its mouth moves a certain way. It's a static, like, mouthful of teeth, very quiet, very understated movements. And then the animated version is just like, to introduce our guest star, that's what I'm here to do. It moves way too much, and it makes me long for someone to go, oh, we found the footage of the puppet. Like, so you can see what the puppet looked like with its blinking red eyes that go inwards and everything. Again, I know something most folks don't know about that, and I wish I could tell you why we didn't see the puppet version.
I've forgotten, so will you tell me afterwards?
Yes. But it's honestly, it's unlike the NDA Tobias Menzies thing, this is not my story to tell, so I can't tell it.
It'll probably come out eventually.
This one does suffer from directorial problems as well. One thing it excels at, and I kept saying this when we watched it, was the lighting. Oh my god, this is one of the most beautifully lit episodes of Doctor Who I've ever seen. Like, all the browns and oranges, and then the blues and reds, like, in the individual corridors, like, giving each one a distinct area. Like the mess and the office having that, like, green hue to them. The main, like, piloting room of the submarine having that sort of reddish orange, which obviously kind of playing on the whole, like, this is the Russian side and everything, like the reds, that kind of vibe to it. I almost love that the story doesn't dwell on, like, you know, who's right and wrong and whatnot in the Cold War, because that isn't important at that moment. What's important is you've got this thing here, and it is going to kill everyone unless you just respectfully leave it alone. It's sort of a remake of The Ice Warriors, in a way, or at least the core idea. Someone finding one of them in ice and thawing it out. But obviously the difference here being that it's a misplaced soldier, like he's been 5,000 years buried. And his platoon are dead, and then you learn that he had a family. His daughter's probably long dead, and or will be, 5,000 years. Like, I like that. I like the fact the Doctor establishes that, like, they're not monsters. Like, he's a warrior. Like, he's done horrid things, but he's done it in the name of combat, which surely you lot can frickin' relate to.
Yeah.
You know, and
he's a very decorated admiral or captain or something, isn't he?
Yeah, and that whole thing where he's like, he won't allow the Doctor to go and talk to it because he's like, you know of these things. He can sense it on the Doctor as well. Yeah. And that's why they eventually, like, relent and let Clara go in to talk to him. Which is nice, because the Ice Warriors were only really baddies twice, properly. They were only villains really twice. Mm. And then the other times we've seen them, they've been diplomats, or they've been, you know, arseholes, but not the bad guy and stuff like that.
They were the bad guy in that, weren't they?
One of the Paladin stories, were they?
Yeah.
Oh, they were in one of them, weren't they?
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah. So
Garoon.
that's the first one. Garoon. That is still our most quoted thing from the classic series.
Yeah, with the big eye in a jar on it. Was it
no, Alpha Centauri. She has an eye on top. No, you're talking about the weird little skull face thing in the jar. It's like a robotic chair, and its head's in the middle, and it's got like a bowl over the top.
I think that's one.
Yeah.
Was that the second one?
That's the first one.
Oh, so maybe they were bad guys in the first one.
I can't remember. Point is, I like that the Ice Warriors aren't just, oh, now they're villains. Because it's like, yeah, not all of them are. So, how do you feel about the voice? I think Nick Briggs does a really good job, but it sticks out to me like a sore thumb at this point that they're just getting the same guy to do all the voices. Not because it sounds like any of the others, but because it's a bit, there's only so many times you can ask the same performer to do voice for evil or menacing alien creature in this show before eventually it's going to feel odd. Like, you kind of need a different voice from time to time, a different perspective. So it's not a Nick Briggs issue. It's maybe the Ice Warrior voice doesn't quite work for me because I'm already kind of tuned into where it's coming from now. Whereas if you cast a different actor, it might have been a bit more of a curveball.
Yeah.
But I love that he homages the old ones. He has that sort of ventilation style hiss at the end of certain words. Yeah. Like, it's not that, of the old ones. It's more, you're out, would you like a sandwich? Like, it sounds a lot more...
a crocodile's favourite kind.
It sounds... Good lord.
If you know what that's a reference to...
Let us know in the comments, I'll be amazed.
You get a prize.
And we'll give you an apple.
Oh.
So...
It sounded very generic. Oh, bad guy.
Which, again, I don't think it's him phoning it in. It's just... We've heard him at extremes now.
Yeah.
And it's like... I wonder if someone else would have done something different with it. Again, not a knock on his performance. I feel like maybe it could have had a slightly more unique timbre, because as it stands, it's sort of quite a forgettable performance. And again, no fault of the suit performer or Nick Briggs, but it's just sort of, it's there.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem fair for a classic returning. Like, the Autons don't have a voice, and modern audiences have that same, like, oh god, the shop dummies that the 70s audience did. So, I don't know.
Are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Well, we'll have to hurry up soon and get to the next one because we're on 2 bars. What's the elephant in the room?
They look like avocados.
Oh, good lord.
It's distracting.
Hyde! You'd never seen this one.
Hold on.
Oh my god,
I have
we're
a
running out of
secret
time.
to share with you.
Hurry up, we're running out of time.
Alright.
You liked Clara in this one? We've liked Clara so far in all 3 of these. And in the 4th one, spoiler alert, Hyde, which was shot at a house that we can't remember the name of, but we visited this time last October.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
We went there, so the moment it arrived... Could you get the cast up for this one? Sorry.
We couldn't go upstairs though because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID and the tighter corridors upstairs, they wouldn't let people go up there for the visit.
The bedrooms were full of COVID.
It's just a big COVID, just one big COVID germ sat in the bed. Oh god, still seriously, carry hand sanitizer and wear a mask in enclosed spaces, you pricks. Yeah. We're still in a pandemic. As of this recording, who knows, maybe by the time this comes out we'll be miraculously out of it, but I doubt it because the human race
Maybe
sucks.
the world's exploded.
Well, we can hope.
That's depressing.
The moment we got into the hallway of that property, I was like, oh god, yeah, no, I recognise this. This was in that Doctor Who story. And then the moment we saw the hallway watching Hyde, we were both like, yep, there it is. That's that place we were stood in a few months back. So who are our cast members in this one, sweet lady?
The Doctor.
No.
Clara. There was
Yes.
Professor Alec Palmer.
Played by?
How do you say his name? Dougray Scott?
Dougray Scott.
Dougray?
Dougray Scott.
I have never heard that name before. Emma Grayling, played by Jessica Raine.
Yeah, Jessica Raine, who... Oh, 50th anniversary year. Are they going to talk up? We talked about Adventure in Space and Time. Go back. It's like one of the first videos in the playlist. Go to the playlist. It's one of the first ones. We talked about that and the Cushing movies in one video. It was lovely. Go watch it. It's amazing she got 2 bites of the Doctor Who apple in 2013. It's nuts.
And she's really good at both of them.
Because when I watched this, I didn't then, like, when I watched Adventure in Space and Time, go, oh, that's the lady from Hyde. But yeah, she's in both, and she does a great job.
Yeah.
As much as I think Rings of Akhaten's got some slop in its narrative that Neil Cross really should have ironed out. I mean, the dude created and wrote most of Luther, which is like the Batman version of the BBC One procedural crime drama.
Yeah, it's like God tier BBC.
Well, it was just that whole thing of, oh, you've all seen these before, so let's make it a bit more comic booky and a bit more intimidating and unnerving, and make the killers like, you know, Legends of the Dark Knight tier villains, and give you like a really good nemesis she's basically the Joker to Luther's Batman, and let's have a great time. Like, Luther works really well, and Rings of Akhaten is kind of sloppy in places narratively, whereas this one, think this one's pretty cut and dry.
Was it their first go of a Doctor Who episode, though?
I don't know if he's written any others, but Rings of Akhaten and Hyde in this series are both written by Neil Cross.
Well,
then was his first script for Doctor Who.
We'll just strike it as a practice room.
Alright, sure.
And then Hyde was like the proper one.
This is great because, like Cold War, this is a bottle episode for the most part, and that's part of the challenge of it. We watched the behind the scenes, and he talks about how he wanted to write a contained one. And it is mostly. Like, it all happens within the corridors of this house. Pop to the TARDIS in the yard, briefly. And we end up in a woods, briefly. But it's all, like, in the different rooms of the house. I love the idea of an ex-military officer feeling guilty about the lives he's taken and wishing he was able to kind of atone for it by comforting himself in finding out there is an afterlife of some sort. And also would love to take the opportunity to thank everyone who died fighting alongside him, who he feels like they deserve to be around. Like, they gave their lives for Queen and country and everything. You know, they gave their lives in the Great War, and
for a great cause.
He wants to at least thank them for it.
But yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, that's a great idea. I love the fact that he's teamed up with this psychic, and this very believable and very sweet and, you know, it's not understated. It's very much like, this is very much, as the Doctor says at the end, this wasn't a ghost story, it was a love story, which is what the episode was.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very believable relationship, and
it's
a will they, won't they. Yeah, and it doesn't feel creepy. There's obviously a bit of an age gap, but it doesn't feel like a creepy student-teacher thing.
No.
It feels more just like two people who kind of like want to share this adventure together.
Men.
Who didn't plan on falling in love, have fallen in love along the way.
Yeah.
And I love how that plays out in the bit where she's like, read my mind. And he's like, I can't do that. She's like, you don't have to have my gift to be able to know what I'm thinking right now. Like, what am I thinking? Like,
it's very cute.
And he doesn't give the outright answer. He just kind of like laughs quietly, and she's like, there you go. And it's very, yeah.
It's very cute.
It is sweet. It doesn't feel creepy. It feels very sweet. The Doctor and Clara have a lovely bounce off in this. I love the idea of, like, apparently since before this house existed, people saw the Witch of the Well. You know, the White Lady and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. But she looked exactly the same.
In every photograph, no matter what, she's the same. She's doing the same gesture.
And isn't she always in the same place?
Near enough, because what the Doctor then does... You loved that when they first said that she's been here since before the house. And you went, oh. This is the first of these four where you stopped everything you were doing and watched it.
Well...
But that's cause...
I'm a sucker for a ghost story.
You're a sucker for a ghost story, and you're a sucker for paranormal investigation.
But also, I've never seen this episode.
So there you go.
I had never ever seen this episode. So I didn't realise that it would be so soon that we would come upon episodes that I hadn't seen. But...
There's going to be quite a few of those going forward.
When we'd watched Cold War, and then it had the, coming up...
Next time.
I was like...
And the overuse of I Am the Doctor.
I just watched it and I was like, I have no idea what that one is. And then same with the end of this one. For the next one, I'm like, I've never seen these.
But that idea of the ghost was here before the house was... So he goes back in time as far back as he can, and then jumps forward like a few 10,000 years every time or whatever.
Yeah.
And takes a few photographs, and then when they finally put all those up together, they're in a bit of a sequence. Like the further back you go, she's in a different position, and so it's like a slideshow almost, like a flip book.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of movement. Like, it's barely a few meters. And that's when he realises that it's someone out of time, caught in the time stream. I love it because it's such a Doctor Who solution. There's this ghost that like psychics were able to connect to. Well, it turns out that psychics and people have been able to see them because like it's almost like they're shattering through time, and psychics can pick up on it because it's the energy of an actual person who's just in that space but is detached from everything. What is it? She's in a pocket universe.
Yeah.
Clara's like, so parallel universe, and the Doctor's like, pocket universe. Like, it's just sort of, which we've seen before, like Sarah Jane Adventures, the wedding of Sarah Jane. Yeah. Like, everything gets put into two pocket universes, the Trickster and Sarah Jane and Peter Dalton's time in one of them, and the Bandman Road team and the Doctor in another. We saw it in Doctor's Wife. House was in a pocket universe outside of the main universe.
Yeah.
So the notion that you've got this explorer who it's such a sci-fi reason for a ghost story, like the first time traveler on Earth. Like at some point in Earth's future, they will attempt to develop time travel, and they'll never be quite successful. But one of their first attempts, this woman goes back in time and gets stuck parallel to the actual timeline of Earth. And at the end as well, I'll think of like he's going to take her somewhere else and help her set up somewhere else because as far as her records are concerned, she was never found.
Yeah.
So they can't just send her back because like it's an important that's definitely fixed point in time stuff, isn't it? Because it's like if she goes back, then they're going to go, oh, well, it worked, right? We'll have to carry on. Whereas obviously what must have happened is they abandoned it, or
figured something else out.
She's good. She's not in it. What's that cast member called? She's not in it very long.
The character's called Healer.
Healer, yes.
And she's played by Kemi Bo Jacobs.
She does a great job. She's not in it long, but she gets the job done. Her outfit's cool. She looks cool. The revelation that like she is a descendant of our two guest characters, like great granddaughter or something like that, is a lovely revelation because it's that. It adds to the love story notion of because they're worried that they're not going to be able to make it work, and that's kind of a confirmation that. Yeah, you do. Like, you have descendants of your pairing. So, yeah, this is going to work. Don't you worry about a thing. The scenes of reinforcing the idea that the TARDIS doesn't quite like Clara. I feel like we needed at least one other scene of that in Cold War in some way.
Yeah.
Obviously in Cold War they have the whole thing of he puts the HADS back on and it vanishes, and then at the end he's like, oh, bugger, it's at the other end of the planet. Should we go get it then? It's like, oh god. Funny joke, but also seriously, they're going to be on that submarine with the Russians during the Cold War for like 9 months or whatever it's going to take to get back to the TARDIS. The reason they're doing it, though, I think, is to reinforce what next week's episode is about. There is only one moment in this that feels detached from this individual story, because like the last two, this still feels a bit Monster of the Weeky, and there's one moment that detaches it from that, which is when Clara kind of has a bit of a revelation of what travelling through time really kind of means from a time traveller's perspective.
I've not seen that. I don't think we've seen that before.
It's a lovely scene, but it does grind this episode to a halt for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
In a way where it then doesn't inform the rest of the episode. If it somehow informed the rest of the episode, I don't think it'd bother me as much.
Yeah.
And again, very ably performed by Matt Smith and Jenna Coleman. They both do a very good job in it. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was Moffat wrote that scene and was like, put that in that one, please. Yeah. I need that to be in there. or got the script and then added that moment in.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that could be in another situation quite easily.
It's also very weird that, like, each companion kind of has a different, interpretation or different reaction to the notion of, like, the passage of time and how you observe it from outside of progressing normally. Because isn't it in one of the shorts, it's in one of the Meanwhile in the TARDIS or whatever, where Amy's like, that's the Earth, whatever, and I'm dead, like a million years later or whatever, and I'm dead, and the Doctor's like, oh, not ray of sunshine you are. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, and we move on. I think it's Amy and the Doctor. I can't quite remember. It might be a Doctor and Martha or a Doctor and Rose moment. I'm not quite sure.
I think it was
shoot! It's Rose and the Ninth Doctor. Yeah. So it's I don't know. It feels like the stuff in Rings of Akhaten. It feels like we're treading ground we've already seen. So it could have been a Neil Cross script. It could have been part of his idea, and he's just sort of aping things he remembers or doesn't remember. He remembers from earlier series or something. I don't know. The TARDIS creating a hologram to talk to Clara based on all of the faces it thinks she might actually listen to or whatever, like all the people that she wouldn't see beneath her. And like Clara's like, I love Clara calling the TARDIS a cow.
Yeah.
There's something really funny about that. It's just like, wow. But yeah. And then the fact that the entire episode only happened because the Doctor was trying to talk. He only showed up so he could talk to the psychic. Because he wanted to get a read on Clara. That's why he knew more about, like, you know, our ex-soldier, because, like, he knew of him, knew who he talked to. Right, we're going to go there.
Yeah.
And it was the whole thing, the whole episode was under a guise of, oh, we're going to go ghost hunting, Clara. This is going to be really fun. And really, it's because he wanted to take her to one side at one point and go, right, what's wrong with her? Why, you know, what's up with her?
Yeah.
And I love that she's just a normal girl. Like, isn't that enough?
Just normal men.
We're just normal men. We're just innocent men. It just, yeah.
I like the...
There's a sinister undertone to that.
Yeah.
And that she's like, he's lying to you. You know what I mean? Like it's not setting up this thing of, oh, he's up to something nasty. Just like, he's keeping something from you.
Yeah.
And it's like, he is. Like, he's keeping her around because he wants to figure out how he's met her twice before. He also seems to be more reluctant for her to go headfirst into danger than he has been with other companions. Almost as if he's like, no, can't let you die again. Like, because I'll have to find another one or whatever. And it's like, well, that's really morbid.
Men.
I like Hyde.
What are you doing?
I wasn't huge on it when I first saw it.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Now I think it's like more of a 6 out of 10 kind of jobby.
I really liked Clara and the Doctor being spooked.
That was cute.
That was really funny.
Very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It's like the third Doctor's like, oh, ghosts, load of piffle, load of hogwash. You know, and then now you've got the 11th Doctor be like, ah! Like, oh, it's cold over here. Ah!
I'm not holding your hand.
Ah! And the way that pieces together that there is a monster living in that void, or, you know, monster's incorrect word, there is something living in that void that can't communicate the way he can, and then he pieces together that, hang on, there's two of them. That's why it's hanging around here, like Healer. It's lost in there. Maybe it lived in there in the first place. Maybe it lived in our reality or whatever, but it's staying here because there's another one stuck here in that day in the house. So we don't see we don't see them reunite, but we know that that's how the story ends, with him reuniting them.
Yeah, because there's this creature that Healer's running from.
The Crooked Man.
And you see it and it's like...
I saw it in a bag!
Oh, that's hideous. That's very scary. It's like a person got trapped in a tree trunk. Mixed with a crab. Yeah,
in the behind the scenes feature on the DVD, someone sort of suggests that it was a person who like got mangled by time travel and ended up in there. But then I'm like, well, why are there two of them that look like that?
Exactly, yeah.
So I don't think that's.
I think that's
what.
Just a
I don't think that's what it's meant. Yeah, I think
it's just a species.
It belongs in that like space between the spaces. Yeah, which is more interesting. The idea that there are species that we've got no idea about because they were just minding their own business in their own pocket dimension.
It's like it should have been in a Guillermo del Toro movie.
Oh, take a shot. The orange spacesuit does this thing again. Hey, it's only its third appearance at this point. It's not outstayed its welcome. I'm enjoying this series so far. I don't remember this half of the series. I don't remember enjoying this half of the series so much. But to be fair, as we've said, I think a lot of my Clara bias might come from actions of the character later. And I haven't watched these since transmission. Like, the only ones of these I've revisited since transmission have been Bells of St. John, Cold War, and The Name of the Doctor, the last one of the series. I think those are the only ones I've watched since. I've watched the first half of the series a couple times, but those ones I've not seen since like transmission. And I've got a very fond memory of watching The Name of the Doctor, but I'll tell that story next time. What about you lot? Do you like Series 7B so far? Or any of these that stand out for you? Do you hate them? We want to know, you little buggers. Tell us. You can write into...
P.O. Box.
No, there's not a P.O. Box.
5928.
We'll see you next time. Wave your wall in front of the camera.
Bye.